Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Tomorrow, the parade, as you know, not only that, you have the U.S. Open out at Shinnecock, which is another thing causing massive tie-ups. But the parade tomorrow, which is supposed to be the biggest parade in the history of New York, which takes in a lot of ground, the Knick craze knows no bounds. That's how big it is right now. And a big part of that is the Villanova story. So we go down to Villanova and welcome in the number 2 citizen of Villanova. I can't call him number 1 because the Pope, of course, is number 1. I mean, he's a citizen of Villanova. But the number 2 guy, the legendary college coach, Jay Wright, joins us now. Jay, welcome. How are you?
Michael, great to see you, buddy.
You look great. Thank you for a couple of minutes. And this thing has taken on an incredible life. And so much of it is Villanova. I cannot believe, Jay, after I've watched so many finals and press conferences and been at a million of them, I cannot remember a time when, without being asked a question, players brought up their college experience. All 3 of the Nova Knicks did. It's amazing what Villanova meant to them, how it bound them together, and what you instilled in them. And it's a great reflection on you, and it must be something that you've heard a lot about. What's your reaction to how amazing their reaction has been to the championship in terms of what Villanova meant to them?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. It's been such a proud moment for everybody at Villanova, and there's a unique connection with Villanova and New York, because Villanova was founded by Irish immigrants in New York who could not get into other colleges, so they were all coming down from New York to Villanova. So there's this incredible Villanova-New York connection as it is. Then you get these 3 on the team together, and all 3 of them finished their college degrees. They were in school for 4 years. Jalen finished his degree in 3 years. So they were here for a long time and a big part of this community together. And you know how tight this community is. You know how bright the students are, because we have a bright Emily Francesa here, who's a great student, and we love her.
Yep. And she was lucky enough to go there. It's been a great decision for her. She's loved every minute of it.
It's just been incredible. Mike, on Saturday night when they were playing Game 5, Villanova had their alumni weekend, which is alumni from all over the world, obviously every state in the country. They had a watch party on campus, and thousands of people on alumni weekend are watching the Knicks. And they're not, they're from all over the world, all over the country. They're not New Yorkers. They're from everywhere, and everyone's following the team. The connection between New York, Villanova, and this Knicks team has been a blessing for Villanova.
How was it you experienced this as you watched this championship series? I know you were at one of the games because I came up from doing a podcast. I think it was Game 3. It might have been Game 4. And the camera was still on the court, and it was a great shot. It was about an hour after the game, and you were in the corner, and Brunson had his arm around you, and you guys were in deep conversation, and you could see the affection, and you could see what, how much, you still mean to the player, because he's there an hour after the game on the court with you on whatever game it was. I was watching it, and they weren't even alluding to it. The camera was kind of locked, and you guys were on the court for a good amount of time talking.
It was Game 4, Mike. Patty and I only went to one game all season. It was that game, because I feel like this is their time, and I don't want to be a hanger-on, but I text with them all the time. But I love watching the game at home. I watch every part of it. I watched the pregame. I watched the game. I watched the halftime. I watched the postgame. I just like to see how they handle every situation, how they prepare. So, when you go to the game, everybody's talking to you. It's fun. I love it. But Rick Brunson asked me to go to Game 4. So Patty and I went up, and I'm from Philly, but I had my years in New York, and I love New York. Yep. Standing there at the end of that game, 19,000 fans singing Frank Sinatra's New York, New York, and Jay-Z's Empire State of Mind. Everybody stayed in the arena, going down on the court. I don't go to enough Knicks playoff games, but I never remember everybody being down on the court. All the former players, hugging Tim Thomas, Marbury.
It's never happened.
It doesn't. That was rare.
No.
I've
Yeah,
never
very
seen
rare.
that.
Very rare. No, very rare. This whole thing has been very rare. And the celebrities all hanging around and everything else, and how many there were, and the fans traveling and everything. And you could see the relationship and how close it was to you and Brunson. And I thought it was very, very telling. You know, you don't like to take credit. I know that's why you don't show up at these things and everything else. But clearly, what you instilled with them in those championship years, these three unique players who all had great careers. They all made All-America at your school. They all won championships. Hart won one. Hart, I remember coming off the bench and being the Big East player, tournament player of the year one year at the Garden. He's always been that kind of player. Take me through the three of them, how you got them. Now, Hart he's first, so he comes from Maryland. Was he a big recruit? Give me the background on Hart.
Of the three of them, I would say he was probably the least highly touted, but he really came down to Rutgers, Penn State, and Villanova in the end. His girlfriend at the time, now wife, Shannon, was a soccer recruit for Rutgers. She was going to Rutgers, so that it really came down to us and Rutgers, and a lot because of her. But my craziest story, we were recruiting another player on this AAU team who was highly touted, wound up going to Indiana. Robinson, his name was. And I kept going to the games and saying, who's this other guy that gets every rebound? He played exactly like he plays now. And I'm like, and my, at the time, the assistants were like, he's maybe a mid-major. He's not.
Right.
And then finally I said, let me go see him in a high school game. And Billy Lang, who's now on the Knicks staff, was my assistant. And he said, you're going to love him. I go to the game. He's playing like a maniac. He gets 2 fouls in the first half in like 3 minutes, doesn't play the whole half, comes in and gets his third and fourth foul, plays a total of 10 minutes because he's a maniac on the floor. And in high school, that physicality, they just couldn't officiate. And at the end, I said to Billy Lang, I said, I can't offer this guy a scholarship. I only saw him for 10 minutes. And he's like, just trust me. Like, what you saw is what he does for 40 minutes if they let him play. And we offered him a scholarship. And in his junior year, Mike, he was 16. We won the championship. 17, we were the #1 overall seed in the tournament. He was our leading scorer and was runner-up for National Player of the Year that year in 17, but we got knocked out by Wisconsin in the second round. He was a great college basketball player. So for him to take on this role is just so intelligent and so humble. It's amazing.
So then we get to Bridges. Bridges was from Pennsylvania and was a pretty big star, right?
Yeah, he was, because
a big scorer.
He was 6'6", 6'7", and he was well known because of his length and his potential. We were not really recruiting him because he just was really thin. We just thought physically it was going to take him some time. But other schools, because of his length, were recruiting him. He was getting recruited by Georgetown, Florida, Texas, and we were not recruiting him. And someone came to me and said, you realize his mother is a student in the graduate program at Villanova, right? I was like, no. He's like, this kid loves Villanova. So we went to see him. He was about 100. He was about 6'6", 6'7", about 160 pounds. He wasn't really overly impressive, except for the fact he had a great high school coach who taught him how to play without the basketball. He was the star, but he moved without the ball. He used screens. He cut. You know how most high school kids, they got the ball in their hands all the time.
Right.
And we thought he really knows how to play. He came in as a freshman, and he just was physically overwhelmed. Josh Hart, who was a bully in a good way, would just beat him up in practice. And we decided to redshirt him, and it was so obvious he was smart about it, which was funny, Mike. When Charles Barkley was busting my chops on the postgame and said Jay Wright should have won more championships because he had all these great players. And McHale was still being interviewed, and McHale said, hey, I redshirted, man. Props to Coach Wright. What NBA player would admit that they redshirted?
Hey, tell Charles he never got out of a regional with great players at Auburn. They never won. You know that? Hey, but how did you transform him into this defensive player?
Think about it, he played in his first year that he played, his freshman year. He was with Archie Diacono, Hart, Chris Jenkins, Jalen Brunson. We didn't need to go to him, but with his length, and he got stronger. He worked with our strength coach. He worked extremely hard. And his redshirt year was hell. He would practice with us. He would lift 5 times a week. Everybody else would lift 3 times a week. We used to take walk-ons and just make them play one-on-one day of the game and let the walk-on just foul the hell out of them. He worked so hard. So by his freshman year, which is the first year he played, he had gotten stronger and tougher. He was one of the best defensive players in the country. We won the national championship a lot because of him defensively, but we didn't need him offensively, you know. So it turned out he only played 3 years of college basketball because he redshirted 1 year. He could have come back and played another year, but he got his degree.
And he was a high draft pick. Yeah. He was a 10th player in the draft.
He was the highest of all of them.
Yeah, he was, absolutely, with his length. And he became this obviously two-way player. And then the third one, of course, who has gone on to, you know, things that are hard to even fathom. How did you get this kid who's a McDonald's All-America? He leads a team to a state championship in Illinois. How does he go to Villanova? What was the connection?
Well, great point, because all that McDonald's All-American, win the state championship in Illinois, that was at the end of his senior year after he had already committed.
Oh, he had committed. Okay.
He had committed.
Well, how did you get in with him?
Rick Brunson, when we were at Hofstra, Rick Brunson and his wife Sandra had Jalen. And Jalen's mom, Sandra, is from Malvern, Long Island. So when they first had Jalen as a baby, Rick was in the NBA traveling and he was in Australia. But
right.
He wasn't making a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of anywhere to live. So Sandra was living at home in Malvern, Long Island with Jalen, raising Jalen as Rick was traveling around. Right. So when Rick would come home, he would come back to Long Island and he would work out at Hofstra. One night I remember watching before the All-Star break, and I always use this example with my Hofstra teams. We watched him play a game on the West Coast for the Portland Trailblazers. He played a game, got on a red eye for All-Star break, came home, flew into LaGuardia, got off the plane 6 o'clock in the morning, came into our gym and put a workout in. And we showed our guys, like, look, he's on TV the night before. He took a red eye, didn't sleep. He's in the gym working out because he was coming to Malvern to see Jalen and Sandra. He had the greatest work ethic, so he'd always be with us. So we had that relationship with Rick. Rick almost, and when we first saw Jalen, we thought he was too small. And we just thought, great high school player, but he's just too small. And Rick kept saying, like, keep an eye on him, I'm telling you. And we had great trust in Rick. And at one point, Rick was going to go be the assistant at Temple and take Jalen with him. And I told Jalen and I told their family, look, if Rick takes a job, he should go with Rick. That's his dad. He's raised him. And Sandra, I'll never forget where I was on the New Jersey Turnpike, exit 7, driving home from New York, recruiting. She called me like 11:30 night. She's crying, like, please don't stop recruiting him. He's his own man. He's going to make his own decision. Rick could take this job, but I want him to make his own decision. So we kept recruiting him. Rick stayed with the Bulls. We got him, and the rest was history. He was a star from the day he came here.
Hey, not only that, people don't realize, and that's why I told everyone when he came to New York, and I never knew he was going to do this, but I said, a lot of people knocked him coming here, and I said, you're going to love the day. You're going to remember the day that he came to the Knicks, because this guy has got something that other players don't have, because I watched them, as you know how close I was to those championship teams of yours.
Yeah.
And that guy made every play. When you won the championship the second time with him, he not only willed that team, he made every play. I don't care what needed to happen. He made every play in every game. He was the best player in the country.
again, he's a second-round pick, but he was a consensus. And I think the only other guy that did this was like Bill Walton and somebody else. There's 3 National Player of the Year awards. He won all 3 that year, National Player of the Year. And with that, and this is what makes him unique, and this is what I think you're talking about because you saw so many of our games. In the national championship game on Monday night against Michigan, Sunday he received all 3 National Player of the Year awards. Monday night, he came out 2 minutes into the game, took a charge. They called a block, boxed out their big man, the big kid who went to Orlando from Michigan. I can't think of his name, but boxed him out, took his legs out. They called a foul on Jalen. Jalen had 2 fouls in the first half, came over to me and said, do not take me out of this game. There's a famous picture we have of Villanova of me holding him and laughing. So I was like, I got to take it. But what he did was he knew we had to be the tougher team. So he gave up scoring points and set the tone for our team physically, to your point of making every play, and just physically set the tone for all of our guys. Like, this is how we got to play. Dante DiVincenzo comes in off the bench, scores 31, becomes a first-round pick because of Jalen.
Yep. Goes crazy. And, Jay, were those 3 guys, and count Dante also, who was heartbroken? I mean, heartbroken. I never saw a guy more heartbroken when he left the Knicks, okay? But they did it to get talent, which we know. But the bottom line is, were those guys closer than your normal players, or were all your players that close?
We had an era there. It started with Archie Diacono. When Archie Diacono came in 2013, from 13 really till the end of our – I shouldn't even limit it. It was one thing that was unique about Villanova. They were all really close. Like when we go on the road, we would talk about enjoying being on the road because we would just hang out together. We didn't go out to any restaurants to eat. We ate all our meals in the hotel. We hung out together. We watched football games together. We ate meals together. We watched basketball film together. They were and then off the court, they hung together and they lived together. When Ryan Arcidiacono was a senior, Brunson was coming in as a freshman, highly touted. And we told, imagine you're a senior in college and, he had a good social life. He was a good looking guy. You're going to take this freshman and you're going to live with him. That's going to be your roommate your senior year, Brunson. And he took him under his wing. And then Brunson did it with Gillespie. They were all really, really close.
It's a great culture that you built. I mean, it's a remarkable culture that you built. And I remember, you can refine this for me, but I know you worked your guys in the morning and then worked them again in the afternoon. And didn't Brunson come and still work them out more? Didn't you also have to deal with him coming and working them out, even though individually, when you were still practicing them like crazy?
Great memory, man. Great memory. That his freshman year, we would always come. Our teams always came in the morning. We got this from the European teams. We'd shoot in the morning and do live shooting drills for an hour. And then eat breakfast together. And then we'd come back and practice for 2.5 hours, which was a lot. And I knew it was a lot. So I wanted to keep guys fresh. But then Jalen would go do his schoolwork, and then Rick would come in at 11 o'clock at night, and then they would do their own workout. And so about 2/3 of the way through Jalen's freshman year, I was saying to my assistants, Jalen he just looks like he's getting physically, mentally beat down. And I said, I guess just it's his freshman year. My assistants knew. They're like, Jay, you realize he's working out every night with Rick, too. I didn't know it because they were coming in on their own. No one's in the gym at 11. And so I brought Rick in. I was like, we can't do this. I said, I know how important this is to you guys. If you need to do this at night, then I'm not bringing him in with his teammates in the morning. He's just going to do afternoon workout and he'll work out with you at night. I said, but he's a freshman and he needs to earn their trust. And I don't think it's a good idea for them to see that he doesn't come to morning workouts and and works out with his dad. I said, I'll do it, but I'm not beating this kid down, letting him practice 3 times a day. And Rick agreed. Now, so he stopped doing it. But his sophomore and junior year, I think they were still doing it. I know Jalen was strong enough, he could handle it.
The relationship between those two, I know a lot of people are like, why is his father? A lot of coaches wouldn't have the father on the staff, blah, blah, blah. He's always up yelling and protecting them. They have an unusual relationship, obviously, right?
he's tougher on him than anybody. And then you don't like he'll protect him sometimes during games with referees, but after the game and when it comes to preparing in the off season, he's tougher on him than anybody. And after his sophomore year, I thought he was ready for the NBA. And we had a meeting with Sandra and Rick, and I just said, okay, I think he's ready. You know, he might not be a first-round pick, but I know he's ready to go. I know this is his dream. And Sandra said he doesn't have his degree yet, so he's not going. And I said, Rick, what do you think? He said, he's not tough enough defensively yet. He's not going. I was like, that's it? They're like, that's it. That's the meeting. I was like, I'm the happiest guy in the world. I'll take it.
I'm getting back to player of the year. And not only that, just to give people an idea, this guy won player of the decade.
Yes.
From the Sporting News. Player of the decade.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you, Mike. Like 45 in a closeout game on the road against
Jordan-esque.
A defensive team like the Spurs, who are outstanding defensively.
Yes.
You look what they did to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Look what they did to Oklahoma State.
Castle's a hell of a defender.
They are.
He really is.
And just as a team and having Wemby at the back of that.
No question.
To get 45 when their goal is to shut you down, I still can't comprehend it, to be honest with you. But I remember the summer before he came to Villanova, he was on the U19 team for USA, and they were playing in Greece in the U19 World Championships. And he had all kinds of first-round draft choices on his team, guys that were all one and done. And it was in Greece, and they were playing Greece, and the place was insane. They were throwing pennies and lighting off fire. It was crazy in there. And he took over the game just like he did that game 5, and he got the MVP. And I was on the beach in Jersey watching this game on my phone, and people are sending me stuff like, this is unbelievable what this kid just did for USA. So he's done this a number of times, and you mentioned it for us. He did it. We shouldn't be surprised, but at the NBA level, it's still, to me,
it's still amazing what he's done. The only thing I can compare it to is what Curry did. Curry was an All-America, like he was an All-America, but no one believed in him in the pros either because he was too small. They both had to prove it, and they clearly have. Curry changed the game, obviously, so he's got a ways to go to catch Curry. I understand that. But two things stick out, Jay, about him. And tell me, did he bring them or did you teach him? Number one, his confidence is unshakable, absolutely unshakable. Did he come to the school with that confidence?
Yes, he definitely did. That I saw him in high school. They were a suburban high school, Adlai Stevenson High School. I saw him going to inner city Chicago, same type of environment, against super talented team. Everybody in the gym hating him. Like, look, everybody coming to that game to say, okay, this suburban kid's coming into the city now. He's going to get his butt kicked. Now we're going to see what he's got. And he dropped 50. And everybody was booing him and yelling at him. And he's always had it. Even as a freshman, when he came in early, he was going up against Archie Diacono every day in practice. And Archie Diacono was he played in the NBA.
Yeah.
By the way, Archie Diacono was the pastor in his wedding. That's how close they were. He did
really?
The wedding. But going up against Archie Diacono, who's a physical college guard, and you can see, like, he thinks he's better than him, which at that time he was not, but he was going to be. But he thought he was. And it wasn't by anything he said. It's the way he played against them. It was decisions he made. He always had it.
Number two, how did he learn the footwork? He has the best footwork of almost any NBA player. The only guy I can think of is Olajuwon had this kind of footwork. His footwork is like a boxer. He can find angles. He can find ways to score. He made one basket over Wemby in that game where he made a maneuver with his feet that was so unbelievable to get a layup. It was unbelievable. He has the greatest footwork. Is that taught, or was that something he just always had?
His dad taught it to him when he was young. Part of the reason his dad was I can't say wanted him to come here, but was interested in our program, was our relationship, but also the footwork, because it was important to Rick, who played for John Chaney, It was important to John Chan, and he knew it was a big part of our program. And when he came in, it wasn't like it's something that we would play off 2 feet. We'd have guards playing the post. Like, a lot of guys came in and they were like, "This is BS doing this every day." Like they get tired. He came in excited about it and took it to another level in the NBA. Did it in college, but what he's taken it to in the NBA is another level, and he still works on it every day. In the summer, he likes golf. I can't say he's like passionate maybe about like Josh, but he likes it. And he asked me, "Can we play Pine Valley?" I set him up last summer to play at Pine Valley. So I called him the night before. Our tee time 7:30. He goes, "I can't do it. I got workout at 7:30." It's the key to everything he does every day is his work on his footwork, his technique. He still does it every day in the off season.
He talked about that after the game. He said, they said, "Did you ever envision this?" He said, "Well, every day when I'm in the gym in the summer, I think about making these plays in these games when they count." And he said, "I do this every day in my workouts in the summer." He must be, see, guys who are that good are hard workers. Let's be honest. They're talented, but they're great workers too, right? The guy he has an incredible work ethic.
An incredible work ethic and a mental discipline. Like, I haven't talked to him about it yet, but I know what we're going to talk about this summer is how did they play you in the playoffs? One time he texted me after one of the playoff games. I don't want to give up too much. Like,
right.
Basically, this isn't what he said, but this is basically what he texted. "I sucked. I have to figure this out. I will." His point was, I didn't play well. They're defending me extremely well. I got to figure out what they're doing to me and how to beat it. And he'll spend this summer analyzing how people played him and then what he's got to do footwork-wise, shot-wise, technique-wise, decision-making-wise. One of the reasons, Mike, you look at it and say, like, how does a guy that's scoring 39 points in a game at the end of the game get to the rim? How do you not triple team him? Because number one, all the guys around him are really good shooters and really good players. And number two, they know if they go double him, he's going to make the right play and give it up to him. And they have great shooters will make shots, but it'll also affect their ability to rebound because they're out of position after the double team. So his intelligence of giving it up just enough to keep them honest, but keeping the ball enough to score 45 is brilliant.
Let's be honest. It took them 4 games to figure it out. Game 5, they couldn't stop him. They could not. Now, maybe Wemby was tired a little bit too, but they couldn't stop him. That's it. And you had a guy guarding them. You had them running guys at him in the last 5 seconds of the shot clock. And then you had to deal with Wemby like a goalie at the back. And that's a lot because he wants to score in the paint on those floaters. And that's hard with Wemby because if you release it, he's going to knock it away. So he faced an incredible defense and still put 45 on him in the last game. And it's unbelievable what I said. I'm watching a Jordan-esque performance here. It was unbelievable. Now tell me this, is this true? Because when you see things, you don't know if it's true or not. Did Mike Brown text you after the game? You made this easy for me because you gave me these 3 guys?
I texted Mike, congratulations. Mike texted me back, "Your guys made it easy on me. Coaching these guys made it
And then
easy."
You said nothing's easy with your job,
said,
right?
"My man, there is nothing easy about your job." Much respect.
You know what? He did a great job, but you know what Leon Rose did? Leon Rose didn't go out to get the best players. He got the players that fit around Brunson. He went and got wing defenders. He went and got guys that matched up with Brunson, outside shooters and wing defenders who would allow Brunson to feed them the ball, and they could help him defensively. And then Towns finally brought in the defense this year, which made a huge difference. And that was the difference with this team. I mean, bringing in OG and bringing in Bridges, they fit perfectly with Brunson.
100%, Mike. And the basketball analysis there in terms of their length, their ability to shoot the ball, their basketball IQ is dead on. But he also, and I think this was Leon's genius, and he started it with Dante DiVincenzo, who was the same kind of player, but he couldn't get Cat Alex Rodriguez is a friend of mine.
Without Dante.
Alex Rodriguez tried to get Dante DiVincenzo when he left Golden State.
He told me that. He said the deal wasn't getting made without Dante in the deal.
Exactly. So it crushed the Knicks to get rid of Dante. It crushed.
They didn't want to. They tried to hold the deal up to keep him.
Exactly. And but they wanted Cat because they knew Cat intelligently could figure out how to play with Jalen, and he had the humility. And I want to share with this. I always worried about this with Cat. He had the humility to fit a role with Jalen, even though he had the ability to be the number one go-to guy. And I would always worry about that with Cat when they would talk about Nova Knicks and all this. Jalen and Josh and Mikhail and I would talk about it, and I'd say, like, what do these other guys say? Like, I know, for Villanova we love it, but I would hate that if I was the coach and all the other guys are listening to this stuff, and those guys would tell me, like, yo, these guys are awesome. We talked about they know we're all about each other. And I saw Cat after game 4. I couldn't wait to see him because I just am so impressed with how he's grown as a player. His passing.
He raised his game unbelievably this year.
Yep. And he, before I could tell it to him, he grabbed me. He said, Coach, I told Jalen, I am not coming here to be the MVP. If they give me the MVP, I'm handing it to Jalen. I want to help Jalen win a championship. And like to have what Leon did was he got those kind of guys, and Anobi's that kind of guy. Shamit's that kind of guy. Mitchell Robinson, who he had, is that kind of guy. He got a mentality and built that in the program. And then Mike came in. Tibbs built the foundation of this, as we know. And then Mike came in and just galvanized all of it, developed that bench, gave confidence. How about him playing Alvarado in the fourth quarter in game 4?
Genius. It won the game. Out there. Those 8 points won the game. They absolutely won the game. His shot, without those shots, they don't win the game. And it gave them a chance to finally get a little space for Brunson in the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. One more thing. And this has been amazing, Jay. It really has, because this is stuff you can't get anywhere else from these guys. Bridges had a rough year. And there was a point where New York wanted him benched during the Atlanta series. And I have always been a Bridges guy, and I stuck up for him, and I said, they got to bring him back in the fold, and they're not going to win a championship. Behind the scenes, he might even have come to you. How tough was this on Bridges to get through this year?
That's a great question, Mike. And it's I know you follow this stuff and watch these guys closely. Mikhail is the perfect teammate. If he has any weakness, and it's a great quality in life, he's too nice a guy.
He doesn't have a big ego, right?
He has no ego.
Right.
And if you think about it, when he went to Brooklyn, he was always good enough to be a leading scorer.
Yeah, he scored 28 points a game when he was there.
Yeah, and in his senior, well, it was his junior year because he only played 3, but in his junior year, in the Big East tournament against Providence, we couldn't score. Jalen couldn't score. They were doing a great job. We went end of the game ISO for Mikhail at the top of the key. He ISO'd, drilled a 3 to win the Big East championship for us. When we got in trouble, we never ran anything for him. When we got in trouble, we ran pick and roll for him. He was outstanding, great passer. So then he finally gets to Brooklyn, and they put him in that role, and he sees, and everybody sees he can do that. He still makes the choice to come to New York, to give that up, to be one of Leon's guys that fit a role, good enough to carry a team if you need to, but will give it up to play defense, a rebound, and cut off the ball. And he's trying to do that, and then he's getting criticized for that. And he never said this to me, but I was always texting with him and concerned with him. Like, I'm giving up everything for this team, and so I'm not making some shots, but I'm doing everything else. He never said. I was telling him, dude,
right. Because his defense never wavered.
You
never
are
wavered.
the best player. You offensive rebound. You defensive rebound. You're good enough offensively that if they leave you and Jalen hits you, you'll hit the 3. Just being on the floor is of value to this team. Don't let them get to you. Publicly, he never let anybody get to him, but I know in his heart, he wants to be thought about. This guy's really good. and he gave up everything for his team to win a championship. That's all he cares about, and that's why he came to New York.
The rarest quality that he has is, and it happened this year so many times, they will not run a play for him for 30 minutes, and then they'll ask him to score in the last 2 minutes of a 1-point game, and he'll knock the shot down. That is an unbelievable quality. It really is.
Yeah, Hunter, we did the same thing to him. He's used to it, and we knew it, and we always knew it. We're like,
and he doesn't say a word.
No.
He never changes expression.
And he makes free throws, makes clutch free throws.
And he's an incredible defender.
And at the end of the games, he'll make defensive plays, not just get a stop. But remember last year, all the steals and deflections, and he's a champion. It's why they're champions. What Leon put together. The great thing about that team is, and you notice it's not Josh said it, but they all feel this way. They're on the podium, and Josh Hart says, "Forget those 5 picks now. They're all worth it."
First thing he said.
All the guys on the team realized Mikhail's value, and they let Mikhail know that, and that's the beauty of the mindset of that group that Leon put together.
No, absolutely. And their cohesiveness and their versatility, and they played great defense, remarkable run that they had, and they will own this city forever. That'll never change. And they can be good going forward. I mean, there's no question. Yeah. What a whirlwind time. Now, listen, you're Mr. Villanova. I know how much you love Villanova. What a whirlwind time for your school. The Pope, and then this whole thing with the Nova Knicks. And the first thing Emily said to me is, "I hope Brunson's my commencement speaker." I said, "You never know. He might be, you know." I said, "You know what, Em? They all might be. Who knows what's going to happen?" I said, "This is some time." The Pope connection to Villanova, and now the Nova Knicks as world champions Villanova. I mean, this has been what a whirlwind time for Villanova.
It really is. Everybody's basking in it, and we all, as a university, as a community, we got to stay humble, and we got to stay hungry to keep getting better. But how about this year? Villanova and Kevin Willard's team and Denise Dillon, our women's team, are going to open up the college basketball season in Rome against Notre Dame.
Is that true?
First game of the college basketball season
in Rome.
In Rome, and the NCAA gave us, to use a great Catholic term, special dispensation.
Is there a building there, or are they going to play it outside or something?
No, in an arena, in a 10,000 seat arena in Rome, and it's going to be on the Sunday before the Tuesday that everyone else can open up. They gave a special dispensation to do it.
Wow.
Men's and women's doubleheader in Rome. In
front of the Pope, obviously, right?
The Pope, we're hoping, is going to be there. He is a basketball fan.
Yeah, he sure is. Absolutely.
So,
I'm sure you must know the Pope pretty well, I would think, right? You probably do.
I have not met this Pope. I met.
Oh, you don't know him? Okay.
I might have met him when he was an Augustinian years ago. He was around. Right. I don't remember. I hate to say that, but I hope we all get a chance to meet him. And that's an amazing event.
How big is that for a Catholic school to have a Pope? I mean, for a Pope, it's like off the charts, right?
Michael, it is. People they're out of the Augustinian priests who run our university and who are a huge part of this. They're humble servants of God. They're giddy about it. It's like,
it has to be. And I can tell you this, folks, because I've obviously been to the school a lot, and I love the school. And let's be honest, and Jay knows this because Jay was my recruiter. Because Emily was going to go to another school, and I brought Jay in, and Jay took her around the school and recruited her to go to Villanova, and she went. And it's the greatest decision she ever made. But you have about the prettiest church in the world on that campus. I mean, it's breathtaking how beautiful it is. And I said, being me and thinking of the dollar sign, I said, "Hey, you want to do a fundraiser? Have the Pope say a mass in this place. We can charge $100,000 a seat." I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't know what it holds, 4,000, 5,000, 3,000. I don't know, but it's unbelievable. Imagine if the Pope said a mass on that church; it'd be unbelievable.
I'm sure someone's thought of that at Villanova. It's probably in the works somewhere.
It's because Villanova is a beautiful school. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful campus, and it has a great, beautiful. Everyone gets married to that church, right? That
Exactly.
church is a gorgeous church. Unbelievable. Well, listen. Congratulations. And listen, I know you don't like to take anything in this, but I'll tell you this, and I really meant this. I've watched all this stuff forever. Bill Walton would always wax poetic about John Wooden, who he took care of in his old age. Once in a while, you'd hear a Carolina player say something about Coach Smith, but never in my life, after a championship series and during a playoffs, have I heard players reference their college experience like these three guys have. They bring up Villanova and what those championships meant and what they learned there so often. It has to make you very proud. It really does.
Thank you, Mike. And I know we got to go, but I want to ask you one last question. What was really cool to me was after Game 5, I saw an interview with Walt Frazier. And I, as a kid, was a Sixers fan. I'm a Sixers fan still, Philadelphia guy. But I remember Wilt Chamberlain and that era and Jerry West and Lou Alcindor and all. Like, I remember those Knicks teams. Willis Reed wasn't thought of as at those level of guys, and Walt Frazier wasn't maybe those level guys.
Not yet. He became a great lead guard, but he was considered a defensive guard when he first came to the Knicks.
But they were a great team. Like I remember
a great team. You know what happened, and you probably remember this, but when the Knicks were put together, Willis Reed was out of position playing forward, and he had Walt Bellamy, who was an all-star center at center. And they had a guard named Howard Komives. They traded Howard Komives and Bellamy for Dave DeBusschere. Now you had DeBusschere, Bradley. They moved Reed to center, and they started Frazier and Barnett in the backcourt. Became one of the great fives of all time.
Yep.
You had Cassie Russell, who was one of the great collegians coming off the bench as instant offense. And you had Bill Bradley, and people know how big Bill Bradley was in the backcourt. And Bill Bradley was a role player with those teams. And DeBusschere was a great two-way forward. He was like OG. He and OG would have been a great matchup.
Yeah.
DeBusschere and Willis took off as a center. But in Game 7, Jay, against the Lakers, and I never understand this, and from a coaching standpoint, I'll scratch my head forever. I would have liked to figure out what went on. Willis got hurt in Game 5. The Knicks rallied to win the game. They went out to L.A. for Game 6. They guarded Wilt with small players. Wilt had 45 points and 28 rebounds in Game 6. How did he not just kill them in Game 7? He did nothing, and the Knicks went off, and Frazier had 36 points, 19 assists, 7 rebounds, and 5 steals in the game.
I remember those teams, to me, as a young kid basketball fan, as being like the ultimate team.
They were.
And
they were. This team's a lot like that. This team's a lot like that, except Brunson scores more than any of those guys.
Right.
That's the thing.
But Walt Frazier said that after the game. He said, they remind me of our team. I thought that was
they remind me of that too. They remind me of that too, because here's what they all gave this year, the best version of themselves to this team. And that's a rare thing. It really is. They all gave the best version of their basketball self to this effort. They really did.
Agree, buddy. All right, I got to get running, man.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for this. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Great
I'll
to
talk
see
to
you,
you soon. Take care. Goodbye.
Hello.
Jay Wright. And again, stuff I promise you won't get anywhere else. I promise you. Anywhere else about these players and how they came to be and everything else, because there's the man who developed all of them. Okay, we're back after this.